we're going to have a ton of fun on the Bitcoin chart, speculating, even on the short term, some crazy price action that I would say most people don't think will happen, or not anticipating will happen. But whether you agree with it or not, we're going to take this data, put it on the weekly, and there's so much important information kind of built into this crazy speculation that is incredibly helpful on the weekly for this bull cycle. So it doesn't matter if you agree with what we're about to look at or not. There's a lot of data that's in here that is very helpful. So hit the subscribe, hit the like. We're also going to dive into the short-term price action and what's going on with Bitcoin right now on the short term at the second half of this video. So let's dive into it. This is based off of a post from Plan B over on X. He posts a ton of Bitcoin market cycle data. If you've been in Bitcoin and crypto markets for a while, you've seen, I'm sure, his posts. Now, this is just a scenario. And let me just state this. This is just a scenario. This is incredibly hopium filled. But I think it's a good exercise, especially as we start looking at the potential for this bull cycle. October, he says, classic pump month, Bitcoin, $70,000. November, Trump wins election, ends Democrats, Biden, Harris, Warren, Gensler, war on crypto, Bitcoin, $100,000. December, massive ETF inflow, Bitcoin, $150,000. January, crypto people companies return to US, Bitcoin, $200,000 by January. And then he has a dip in February back down to 150. This goes on, and we're going to look at this on the chart. I've kind of put this on the chart. But this goes on. You can see month by month, we have $1 million all-time high, July, December area. And then 2026, a dip to $500,000. And then 2027, bear market, basically a bottom of $200,000. I told you, it's some crazy speculation. But there's a lot of value in it. And I'm going to talk about the 2 points of value, which is this value stemming from reality and also just from actual charting data. But here is what it looks like on the daily chart. It looks absolutely ridiculous, right? He's saying October in red on this daily chart, around 70,000. And I tried to put this close to what he has. November, he has $100,000. You can see this yellow, just this continuation on the daily. And then we have November. I have a nice little dip in there. I built in a dip. We got to get the dips. But December keeps going up. And we're hitting around 150,000. I don't even have it going to 150,000. It's like 130 some thousand. And then from that move into January, we're hitting 200,000. And then we get this big dip back down to 150,000 in February, as he states. This is what it looks like. It's insane. I want to talk about two things. Whether you think this is going to happen in the short term or not, $200,000 by December or January, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to explain why very simply. But whether you agree or not doesn't matter. If you look at what he's actually writing here, this is actually the reality of the situation, with other things not even built into what he's saying. We're not even really talking too much about the macroeconomic state of things in the world and how Bitcoin plays into that and where we are in the Bitcoin cycle. He's stating some very simple reality, right? October being a classic pump month. What happens if Trump wins the election? I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, it doesn't matter who wins. This is built in. This is coded. It's happening anyway. But the Biden-Harris war and Gensler war on crypto is a very real thing. The quicker that ends, the better it is for Bitcoin and for crypto. The ETF inflows, a very real reality of what's happening right now with Bitcoin, the ground floor of it all. And then he talks about crypto, people, companies return to US. So imagine this, companies, innovation flocking back to US. And then he goes on to just talk about things like legal tender, right? He talks about Trump building a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Imagine when these things happen. Imagine these realities and what that means on the weekly chart, right? So he's using incredibly bullish macro things and he's squeezing it all into like a very short period of time. But my thing is, whether you think it's going to happen that quick or not, I don't. It really doesn't matter because this is a daily chart. Look at this chart going kind of parabolic, right? First thing I want to say is, let me just go back on this Bitcoin daily chart, take that visualization of what that looks like. It looks crazy. But then it's kind of like, does it really look that crazy from even a technical analysis perspective? Look at last bull cycle, everybody. There's last bull cycle. And then We go to the cycle before that. Look how parabolic these cycles are. Look how parabolic these cycles have been for Bitcoin. So now you get to glance of these previous bull cycles and watch what happens as we scroll over to where we are and the speculation that we're talking about. It actually doesn't even look that crazy. That's what's crazy. But I digress from that, and I go to the weekly. And based on time frame data, cycle data, and I think more just a conservative approach to market cycles, I have a couple things going on here. And what he's talking about plays all into this and beyond right here. This red line I put on the screen, I need to save it, is basically, I have kind of a speculative end of bull run in October 2025. If this ends up being a super cycle of some sort, it could absolutely go longer. This is just based on previous data. I like to just take a conservative approach to things. If we have like a year worth of bull run, and I think there's a very strong possibility it's longer, but again, more conservative approach with a target 1 and a target 2, upper end being like close to 300,000. This parabolic, ridiculous, if we take a lot of what he's saying and the hopium-filled charts and we put it on the weekly, it's in play. I don't necessarily think we'll get that high. And then we have a target 1, which is around 130,000. And it's very much based off of the new structure that we have this cycle. It's awesome to have structure throughout these cycles, and we have this inverse head and shoulders in play with kind of like a couple different targets depending on how you're measuring that inverse head and shoulders. So 130 up to the 200s, well into the 200s, is the range that I have by around, October 2025 or so. But this chart, I would be charting even if we really didn't have all of these things. And the thing is, we do have all of these things. And so how this cycle plays out on the shorter term, it is absolute speculation, right? If this happened, it would be bonkers. And it would be very, I'm sure, fun for all of us. But how it plays out on the weekly, it starts becoming way more kind of realistic and more realistic to visualize, right? When we start considering the way that cycles are coming together, the timeline data of it all, the macroeconomic data of it all. And I'm talking about the recession stuff. I'm talking about the reset even in crypto markets back here, FTX, Celsius, banks, all this stuff falling and failing. There was a massive reset. And I'm talking about a new interest rate cycle. I'm talking about, everything that has happened with inflation. So all of these things are coming together to really set us up for a very nice move. Whether you're zoomed out on a weekly or you're speculatively zoomed in on a daily and you're trying to squeeze all this bullishness into a shorter term chart, doesn't really matter. What really matters is you zoom out on the macro cycles of Bitcoin and it's like, wow, even after all of these years, and I know it's up insane, but even after all these years, Bitcoin is still early. If you really consider all of the things that he's talking about here, imagine a Bitcoin reserve, a US starting Bitcoin reserve. We're still early. And that applies even more so to crypto and the innovations that are being built outside of Bitcoin. So crypto's early, everybody. And no matter how you spin it, zoomed in speculation, zoomed out speculation, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about this craziness. It's definitely hopium filled and it's fun to do. But again, I think there's a ton of value in all of this data. So I appreciate you cruising through. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe. It means a lot to me as we kind of continue this crypto journey, see what happens with this bull market that we're anticipating. And turn notifications on if you enjoyed this video. Get notified of new videos as I put them out. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.